What happens when you take the world's greatest bowlers and allow them to compete on easier lane conditions? You get high scoring. We're talking record-breaking high scoring. You could easily see a 300-game bowl here on national television by any one of today's competitors, including Walter Ray Williams Jr. and the man with the most unorthodox style on the tour, Wayne Garber. The Pepsi Red, White, and Blue Open, presented by the USBC, is next. Welcome to Wichita for the opening PBA event of 2010. Today, North Rock Lanes host the Pepsi Red, White, and Blue Open, presented by the USBC. And the theme all week has been record scoring. 300 games were dropped through qualifying. The 31st, courtesy of today's #1 seed, Patrick Allen. He and #2 seed, Wayne Garber, have earned buys into the semifinals, so they will sit and watch 2 simultaneous matches to determine their semifinal opponents. It'll be Mike Machuga versus the all-time Lumber Liquidator Tour title leader, Walter Ray Williams Jr., the winner versus Garber, while Allen will face the winner of the Mike Fagan, Mike Scroggins showdown. Scroggins, your reigning U.S. Open champion. And glad you're spending part of your Sunday with us. Rob Stone joined by Randy Peterson. And this is a day that our scorekeeper has long feared. It's the perfect storm of scoring today. You have a modest oil pattern, you have great talents, and you have not 1 but 2 simultaneous games that'll be rolled today.
Yeah, a very unique format in that we'll have 2 matches going on simultaneously. 4 bowlers on 4 lanes. That, along with the record-breaking scores all week, Rob, you touched on it, 31 perfect games. Remember the old record set back in 1995, 24. And guess what? 5 of the 6 finalists today have bowled a 300 game in this tournament.
We talked about the modest oil pattern, and it seems like a pretty nice segue to the Lumber Liquidators Know the Wood segment.
Well, it's 40 feet and a 5-to-1 ratio. What that means, Rob, is that on a typical house pattern, it's about a 10-to-1 ratio, meaning a lot of oil in the middle part of the lane and very dry to the outside. A typical tour pattern would be a 2-to-1 ratio or 3-to-1 ratio. Very, very flat. The blue oil pattern that the players are bowling on today, 5-to-1. The players have a little more help, and guess what happens when you give professionals a little more help? They destroy the oil pattern, and that's exactly what happened this week.
Time now for our first simultaneous match.
Ladies and gentlemen, a 3-time collegiate All-American and Lumber Liquidators PBA Tour titleist, the King of Swing from Patchogue, New York, please welcome Mike Fagan.
So there's Fagan, his 8th year on the tour, 6th as an exempt player. 1 tour title, it came in a doubles event. And he opens up his match versus Mike Scroggins with the strike.
A 2-time Lumber Liquidators PBA Tour titleist from Erie, PA, Chugs, please welcome Mike Machuga.
Machuga taking on the living legend, Walter Ray Williams Jr. Machuga, this is his 2nd top 20 of the season, finished 18th at the Motor City Open, the first event of the 2009-2010 season.
Boy, they're making us look good, huh? We talked about big scores and records being shattered, and we have our first 2 strikes.
First one's out. A 6-time Lumber Liquidators PBA Tour titleist and reigning U.S. Open champion from Amarillo, Texas. Please welcome Mike Scroggins.
Scroggy still living off that big win in the spring at the U.S. Open, his 2nd major title. He also won the 05 Masters. One of 2 lefties on today's show. #1 seed Patrick Allen, the other. first non-strike so far.
The all-time Lumber Liquidators PBA Tour titleist and 6-time Player of the Year from Ocala, Florida. Please welcome Walter Ray Williams, Jr.
Walter Ray won the Motor City Open this season. This is 5th top 20 finish and 4th top 10 of this season. We've seen that before, Randy, haven't we?
Yeah, he's done that a few times in his career.
Now back to Scroggins in his match versus Fagan. His spare attempt in the first. The lefty takes care of that. Now the pace begins to pick up. Walter Ray, a brief respite on the bench, pops back up. He struck in the first, as did his opponent.
Get up. Come on, yeah.
Hard to believe at age 50, he's still able to do this on a weekly basis out here.
Guy's an absolute machine. Scroggins on the far left lane. Didn't like it, but gets away with it. Late 7 to drop.
I'm starting to think that every time a player gives a grunt after the shot, it's always going to strike.
Now we move about 3 lanes to Scroggins' right from Mike Machuga. Back-to-back jacks from Machuga to match Walter Ray.
Right-hander's best friend when you're working on a strike is a trip 4.
Michael Fagan to close up the second.
Didn't look very good off his hand, Rob. It looked like he fanned it just a bit at the release point.
Machuga in the third versus Walter Ray.
Oh, my God.
See? There you go.
See?
Again.
I told you.
Look at the smile on Machuga. Oh, great. Here's Fagan trying to get a spare in the second. And he does.
A lot of fun to watch Michael Fagan, that big long arm swing, loosey-goosey, and just snaps on it at the bottom. Walter Ray looking to even his matchup with Mike Machuga in the third frame.
Now, the last time the PBA had a TV Finals featuring simultaneous matches was in '95, and this guy was in it. It was the AMF Dick Weber Classic in Richmond, Virginia, and Walter Ray finished second in that event. Here's Fagan working off a spare in the third. Good. Like that one.
Well, it's interesting watching Walter Ray in that, you know, we're used to watching him make shows on real tough, demanding oil patterns. But it just goes to show you why he's so great. Doesn't matter what the oil pattern is or the scoring pace. Low, high, anything in between, he's going to be there.
We mentioned there were 31 300 games bowled here during qualifying. 2 of them courtesy of this guy, Mike Scroggins. In fact, he's bowled 4 300 games over the course of the last 3 weeks, he was telling us. And he leaves the 7.
Walter Ray also had 2 300 games this week. And now he's got back-to-back 10 pins. You know, the feeling all week long for the players, because the scores were so high, was the first one that missed lost. That match all even. Fagan and Scroggins on the left pair of lanes, the right pair of lanes. Walter Ray Williams Jr., Mike Machuga.
Well, Walter Ray's been the one to kind of slow the pace down here as he gets set to close out his effort in the fourth. Taking his time, and I like that. No reason to be rushed. Just because everybody else is moving at a good clip doesn't mean you have to.
Torrid pace.
Scroggins with the strike there with his effort in the fourth. So all 4 competitors are 3.5 frames down. The conclusion of our first simultaneous match when ESPN's presentation of the PBA returns to Wichita. You're watching the Pepsi Red, White, and Blue Open presented by the USBC.